All right, welcome back to the Redefine Hustle podcast. Today is an exciting day. I'm so excited. We have a very special guest. We have Krystal, known as Krystal Adele, over on Instagram, a branding and clarity business coach and social seller. And I met you, oh gosh, I feel like it's been almost 2 years.
I
And
know. How did we end up in like the same circle, the same world?
The story is Jackie Richards was invited to speak to the network marketing company, a group that I was part of where they share resources, and they invited her in to kind of share Instagram tips. And then she had shared a branding, like if you need branding support. I was
Oh, good old
like, oh yeah, I
Jackie.
could use branding support. So I come on your page and I was like, wait, what? What is going on? And I'm so excited to talk to you about this today because I think so many people need to hear this. But before we get into it, tell us about you. Tell us how you got started in all of this.
Yeah. I love that Jackie was the one that brought us together. I was curious, actually. I thought about that last night. Like, how did I meet Lindsay? Because we have been in like the same like circle for like 2 years. Jackie is my upline. So she with Saint, she is my direct upline. I actually technically not my direct upline. Fun fact. I joined Saint 6.5 years ago, 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago. And it was like just because I loved makeup. I was a mommy blogger back when mommy blogging was hot. Like that's what we all did. That was, oh my gosh, my son was 2 and he's 11. So like a really long time ago, I was mommy blogging. And I had met Kara, the creator of Saint. She was a blogger. That's how she started. So I was introduced to the makeup at a blogging conference, knew I liked it. So when it launched as a direct sales company, I joined under another blogger. So we had like a little bit of like blogging world combination. And then that blogger, Jenna Wood, is like under Jackie. Anyways, a little bit of degree of separation. But I joined just because I love the makeup. Like I had a full-time, I was a kids pastor and I had a full-time job. I worked for Stitch Fix part-time from home. I had 3 kids. Like I had no business starting another business. Like that was not the plan. I just wanted to use this makeup, hang out with my girlfriends. That was it. And so for 4 years, that's what I did. I had a goal to always stay active, and that was it. And I was happy with that. It paid for my nails, it paid for my coffee, and it paid for some date nights. Super happy with that. I also love that that's part of my story though, because I feel like as a leader now, I know not to write people off, not to be like, oh, she's just a hobbyist. Like, I'm going to leave her alone, because you never know what's going to happen in that woman's life, where her season's going to be. Like, you have no clue what's going to happen with someone. And I was literally that someone. After moving from Southern California to Austin, Texas, almost 3 years ago, I decided, hey, this Saint thing might be more. I still worked for Stitch Fix remotely from home, still have those 3 kids, but now I was thrown into Austin, Texas, where I knew no one. And it was like the hardest thing that I've ever been through. I was like devastated to leave our people, our home, and all of that. And yet Saint was like what I clung to. That's like what I kept my like eyes on. I knew the possibilities. I knew that direct sales, like the opportunity is insane, but I also knew how hard it could be. So I think that like I was in a place where I did not want to work for Stitch Fix anymore. It did not bring me joy. I literally loathed working there. And so it was like, okay, well, I can go all in over here. I have this business I've kept up for 4 years, or I could get a new job. Like it was like one of those things. And moving to Austin, Texas, where we knew no one, hard, like I could not get a job where I was away from my kids. We didn't have any help. And so it was like, Saint is still here. I can figure this out. I can make it work. I can also bring in other streams of income while I do that. And if I want to quit Stitch Fix, I have to make it happen. So I kind of like was at that crossroads And now I'm here, which I don't know if you want me to talk about that yet.
What I'll just add to this is I'm just gonna bring in like this one piece and then I'll let you keep going. I've come across your page like 2021, I think, like right going into 2022, I think is like somewhere right at the end of the year is where I was in my own network marketing company, and I couldn't figure out Instagram for the life of me. I had 1 year of like massive Instagram success, and I did nothing. I did no effort on the page other than just show up and post, and people would be in my inbox and asking me all the things, and I had the dream Instagram, but it only lasted a year. And I was like, okay, she can help me figure this out. But I was like, even beyond that moment of like, oh, I need to change my colors and I need to just look a little bit more professional in this thing, even though I really want to show this hot mess mom side because I think that's so relatable. But what was fascinating to me was you were doing Saint makeup. You were also creating these branding boards for people to buy. And then on top of that, you were coaching them in business. And I think somewhere in there, I felt like you did some kind of affiliate stuff as well, just kind of sprinkled in. And I was like, just so fascinated. I use the word fascinated because I came from a space of all you focused on was your network marketing company. Like you didn't focus on anything else. You focused here. You were all in here. You could only focus on one thing. And I honestly don't even know where that full narrative came from. Like I can't even tell you where I heard it or saw it. It was a common narrative in the space I was in. So when I saw your Instagram, when Jackie was like, if you're looking for branding, go here. I was like, it took me months of just kind of watching and being like she's literally able to do all the things on one page. And I've been told, I couldn't even tell you by who, but I just remember like you have to be very focused on your thing, your one thing. And so I want you to keep talking about this because there's just so much to this that I feel like people need to hear about how to do that, because one, we're in a really tough time with prices going up. And two, I feel like people have a lot more potential to do a lot more and need permission, maybe. I feel like I needed permission. So I'm gonna let you expand a little bit on that.
Well, I think number one, taking it back to Jackie really quick, she instilled in us as a leader that we are all 1099s. And that is true for every single network marketer. No matter what company you're in, no matter who you're working with, you're a 1099. And I love the direct sales world. Like I am a MLM champion through and through. I will always talk about how much of an impact it has had on my life. But I also know that I have had that experience. So like sharing the positive side of it, I know that other people have not had the same experience. So I never want to like squash what someone else has gone through. But my experience has been nothing but positive. Like I literally cannot tell you one negative thing that I've had in Saint in 6 years, which I think is crazy. Like that's not normal. I don't think that's normal. But when I was at this like time of my life, which was early 2021, I was still working for Stitch Fix. We were trying to buy our house, so I needed that full-time job. So I was staying on Stitch Fix, but I knew that I did not want to do that. I knew that that was not long-term for me. I was so unhappy in what I was doing. And my husband and I, when we moved away from Southern California, something that I told him was like, if I'm going to leave everyone I know and love, where we go, we have to be doing something that we both love. Because he came from like chef world. He was a corporate chef and he was not happy there. And so for us, for me and him, I was like, if we're going to leave, we have to find joy in what we're doing. That was so, so important to me. So I knew Stitch Fix was not it. I knew that was not going to happen. But in order for me to leave my full-time job, like I have to replace the income. And Saint was not doing that. Like, I want to be like super real. The reality of direct sales is that most people are not making that full-time income. It's just facts, which I know is one of the things that gives it a bad reputation. But also, I love to point out the fact that when I was just making the hobbyist money, that's all I wanted. That's my season of life. That was exactly what I needed. That's all I wanted at the time. So that, like, we never know what someone wants, what their season of life is, or what they need, right? And so for me, I was like, okay, well, I want to quit my job. How do I make that happen? And if Saint's not going to be it right now, and I want to quit my job right now, then I need to get creative. I need to take that entrepreneur side of me. I have that skill, I have that drive, and I have that desire. What can I do to start replacing my income? With Saint still in there, because I love Saint. Like, I really truly enjoy what I get to do with Saint. I love the product, I love creating, and I love helping women get their makeup. Like, I still had so much joy with that. But if it was not going to replace my income, I had to start doing something. I had to start doing something different. And so it did look like that was early 2021. And I didn't really know. I was like, okay, I want to be a hype girl. Can you be like a professional hype girl? Like, is that a job? Like, I literally was like, is that a thing? Can I do that? And one of my friends was like, yeah, it's called a life coach. And I was like, a life coach? Like, that's like so scammy. I was like, that's not real. Like, I Googled it. I looked at a bunch of different things and I was like, this is worse than an MLM. Like, I for real was like, this is not a thing. So I had kind of written it off, and I stumbled upon a live with Tara Kirby. She's the creator of the Dream Coach Academy. And she was talking about the certification that she had that was a life and business coach. And again, I for reals was like, this is super scammy. I'm not interested. But I watched her live, totally vibed with what she was saying. She was like aligned with that like hype girl vibe that I was like seeking. Basically, she was teaching people how to use her curriculum that she built her business with. And then you would then coach other entrepreneurs with the same curriculum. So it was like exactly what I was looking for. Like, okay, that's what. And I want to like pause really quickly. I didn't have to get certified. This is not a have to thing. You don't have to do that. My personality is I want to feel confident in my knowledge before I do something. But looking back, I like, honestly, I could be like, Krystal, you don't need that. Just start doing it. Just do the dang thing. You don't need that part. But just because of who I am, it makes me feel better. If I'm like, yes, I'm certified in this and I'm certified in that, and all the knowledge. So I got certified with her, and that was summer 2021. So I was coaching, still doing Saint, coming up with new offers, making things up as I went. Seriously, as an entrepreneur, you just like have to be creative. You have to like think on your feet, be willing to serve, want to help others. Like, if you don't come at it with that kind of mindset, I don't think it's going to be successful. Honestly, I don't. You have to be willing to like pivot and be flexible, because things get crazy when you're doing it on your own. And so I started coaching one-on-one, but I fell into the Instagram growth world, the Instagram coaching, which is when you found me, which is so funny. But I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, I found myself in that space because I feel like it was popular at the time. Like, it was like booming. People were taking off, becoming Instagram coaches. And I did not belong in that world, but it's where I started. So like, it's like, good and bad, a little bit of like, well, at least like that's where you got started. But I knew pretty quickly that that's not where I wanted to be. And it's funny that you mentioned the whole, like, you had a thriving Instagram and then the next year it was gone. That's because social media is a fickle little thing. They love you and then they desert you, and no one knows what the heck they're doing. All the tips and tricks and the hacks, like what one thing works for someone does not work for everyone. And that's why I was in this space, like coaching these entrepreneurs on their Instagram, and like, literally being like, no, that's not what matters. That's not what matters. And Lindsay, like you and I have gone back and forth so many times on this topic. I swear, like we have had so many conversations around this.
Yeah, I would love for you to get a little bit more into how I have two thoughts around this.
Yeah.
One, how did you, with all of this, how did you come up with the idea of these branding boards? And two, the thing you're known for is who made up the rules? Like who created these social media rules? Who says you have to go do this and that? Who says you have to post like this? Who said, like, who created the rules? All these different Instagram coaches. And as somebody who's loving her, talking about Facebook, in my experience, I have a lot of fun poking fun of this here and there, all in good fun. But I would love to kind of hear this concept around, you created these branding boards and you really stand strong behind creating your own personal brand, because I believe that's what fascinated me, because you were literally able to sell Saint coaching, branding boards, and all these little things that you've come up with. I would love to like hear more on that.
Yeah. Um, so something I really believe in is that we all have our own individual strengths. We all have, like, that's why I was like, pause, you don't have to get certified, because I really, really, truly believe that you already know what you're good at. You already have the passion in you. You can take those strengths and those passions and turn it into something if you want to, because you don't have to monetize every hobby in your life. But if you wanted to, like me, I loved Canva. I loved creating pretty things. I've always been really good at like pulling from like different ideas and turning them into something. That's something that I've always been good at. I actually went to art school for photography. And so I think I've always kind of had that like creativity side in me. And it turned into this branding business because I was doing it for myself. So for me, and what, like going back to what you said with like, who made up these rules anyways? Like they're literally all made up and they don't matter. First of all, like let's all put that in our heads. The rules are made up. Who made those up? Like they don't matter. Right. And so when I was like starting the entrepreneur side of everything, still with Saint, but have an entrepreneur side, in January 2021, for 3 months, I was like, okay, I'm gonna blow up. I'm gonna make this happen. This is gonna work for me. Oh my gosh, Saint is gonna like make me so much money. Guess what? 3 months later, nope. I was still exactly where I was. Nothing had changed. I was not seeing the success that I wanted. My real views still sucked. Like I was not growing. And I was doing all the things that people told me to do. So I just was like, I don't understand. Like, why am I not growing? I was so frustrated and so annoyed that I almost quit. I was almost like, okay, I'm just going to stay with Stitch Fix. And I almost got promoted. I was like in the interview process to get promoted with Stitch Fix, which I hated. You guys, like I hated it. But I was like, well, that's not working. So I have to do something, right? And so I did. I decided, because I think we all have a choice. When you hit your, breaking point sounds so like dramatic, but I really think I was at the point of like, this is either going to work or I'm going to quit. Right. Like that's where I kind of was. And I've also been there multiple times since then. So it is a little bit dramatic, but that's fine. I said, I'm going to start doing this my way. Like I'm going to start doing this the way I want to. Obviously their way's not working. So if I'm going to like be doing this and I really want this to work, I'm going to do it the way that like brings me joy, that I'm having fun, because we spend a lot of our time creating and like making like content for other people and like engaging and building community and all. We spend so much time on that. If there's zero fun, like no wonder we all want to quit on the bad days, because there's no fun to look forward to. So I told myself, all right, we're going to make this fun. Forget it. I'm going to do it my way. What do I love? I love pink and orange. Like, hello, my bedroom is literally pink and orange. Welcome to my bedroom. I love colors. I love smiley faces. I'm literally like a 13-year-old girl in a 38-year-old body. It's fine. But that brings me joy. And so I started to incorporate that into my own content and playing on Canva and making things pretty And it wasn't like about the perfect aesthetic. It was about my aesthetic. What feels like me? How can I make this Instagram world space really reflect who I am, so that when someone comes to my page, they're like, oh, that's Krystal. I totally know her. I've seen her content because it all looks like her. It has that same energy. So I started doing that for myself, and people noticed really quickly. Like it was, and I give a lot of credit to Jackie because she has a very big influence and presence. So she was telling people like, go to my girl Krystal. She knows what she's doing. And that really was a big part of it in the beginning. But I also became known for that. And that was huge because I hadn't even started the coaching certification process at that point. I was just like, sure, like I know how to do, I did this for myself. I can do it for you. This is really fun. I really love it. And I literally like taught myself, okay, maybe this is how I would do that. And it worked. Like it actually worked. And that was really cool because it was like this idea and no one taught me how to do it. I made the process up myself and it worked. And like looking back, I'm like, why don't I still do that? I don't do that as much as I used to. And I really loved it. So I'm having kind of like an aha moment. Like I miss that.
Yeah.
Because it is like, I've been told I have a gift for taking someone's Pinterest board ideas and like turning it into your brand. And it is so much fun for me. And the fact that like, if you can take what I create for you and start implementing it and having fun with it and like running with it and seeing the returns, because like what I would do for people is essentially make them like a recognizable brand, which means like what I said, when like someone goes to my page, they know, oh, this is Krystal's content. And that is when you can do that, oh, it's so magical. Like your follower count doesn't even matter. It's when like people feel like they know you, when they feel like they can see your content somewhere and they think of you. I get so many DMs of people like in Walmart. There's a smiley face picture at Walmart right now. How many people have sent me that picture? Like, and I bought it. I already have it. So they sent it to me and I'm like, I got that. Don't worry, I saw it. I bought it. Yes. Because they think of me when they see those colors, the smiley face, that brand, like they think of me because I've done that. And it really was a big part of me figuring out like, oh my gosh, your love and your passion for something can help others and can bring in income for your family. Mm-hmm. But like you said, like we like have been told to pigeonhole ourselves into something, and that it's just not true. Like you don't have to do that.
Yeah. And it's so, I'm literally going down memory lane. Like, where did I even hear that? Literally,
Yeah.
did I hear it from one? Because like when you get into the mindset and the thought processes and things, like that's a whole nother conversation, but it literally can come back to one person said one thing and it turned into a big, huge thing for you and you've held on to it. And that could be something that I did and have had to work through because I do a lot of unlearning these days, as you know.
But I think it's also too, like you were really successful in your network marketing business. You still are.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it comes from like that success of like, well, if I was successful, like why would I change it? Or because it's not just you. Like I've heard that from a lot of people. Like we're told like, no, you can only focus on one product. You can like, don't sell something else because you're taking your weight. Like I heard it from someone just the other day. And I'm like,
I actually think it's so different. I think maybe that was like so 10 years ago where it was one focus or something. And that could be what it was, because I think we are all more fascinated by when you have the time to like go through stories and they're like, look at this cup and look at this skincare and look at this whatever. And here's a little code, like the affiliate thing that's going on. And these people are sharing multiple different things. Like now it's a hairbrush I love, or a hair curler, the hair this, or makeup, or a shake you love, or a drink you love. Like, and we are used to the same person showing us 5 different things they love and being like, here's a code, here's a this, here's a link. So because
at the, like if you think about that, think about the person. I love doing this with people. Literally think of the person you love following. Like when you think of social media, the one person that's like, oh my gosh, I love following her. Like I like her. You know her, you like her, and you trust her. So it doesn't really matter what she's selling.
Yep.
You have bought into who she is. And that's what creating a personal brand literally is. Because like if I quit Saint today and was like, I'm going to do, you know, affiliate marketing and that's all I'm going to do, my people would not leave. They'd be like, oh, Krystal's doing something else. Okay, cool. Because I treat them like people, not like numbers.
Yeah.
They're
Totally.
people to me.
I have a question. Do you have the smiley face slippers?
I do.
I saw them the other day and I was like, Krystal, I hope she has the smiley
I
face.
I do. I think my dog ate that one, but then now I have the smiley flake faces with the cowboy hat.
Oh my
I don't know where they are. They're usually under my desk. It's been so hot in Texas that I like can't wear slippers right now. But during the winter, I for sure have them.
So something else that I would love to just chat a little bit about and even tell people about your content map, which is a free thing that she has that you guys can get. So why she has it free, I don't know, but because I took a class. So I in 2022, I was still watching you in my fascination of like,
But you like watched me through like my crazy, like I started coaching, went hard in the Instagram world for 6 to 8 months maybe. And then I told my husband, I was like, I hate this. I'm not doing it anymore. And I was making pretty good money. Like the most money I've ever made, far surpassed my corporate jobs. And he was like, I'm sorry, what? He was like, has been really nice because we've always living in Southern California. We both had jobs that like barely paid. I mean, I worked for a church. Like we don't, my treasures are in heaven. Okay. We don't make a lot of money. So he was like, why are you going to quit? Like, no way, you're crazy. But again, remember, I was like, no, joy is my number one thing. And this is sucking the life out of me. And so you watched me go from like one-on-one coaching in Instagram growth world to like, I'm not doing that anymore. Not for me. But then as an entrepreneur, you're like, well, but I still need to make an income. So what is for me? And I think that the beauty of it is that I still had Saint. That has been my constant, she's my girl. But as the like coaching world side, the entrepreneur side, I had to figure something else out. Like if I was going to stop one-on-one coaching, which brought in a lot of income, what was I going to do? And that's where you came in to like, I have always been someone who is like, we're better together. What can I create with you? Are you laughing at my dog?
Yes. My dogs do the same thing. This is cracking me up. I'm like, I thought it was just my dogs that did this.
Nope. He's always in the background somewhere. I just have always approached things in a way of like, it's not a competition. We are meant to do things together, which in the entrepreneur world, I think is rare. And it's something that's really important to me. So I had this idea. I did a round of small group coaching by myself and it was great. I like really enjoyed the group factor of things. But I still felt like, I don't know, like if that's quite it. And I had this idea to like do a more robust group course. And then I heard my friend Erica talking about like kind of a similar-ish idea, but not quite the same in her stories. And I just was like, wait a minute. What if we did this together? What if we brought our strengths together? Because we had different strengths and made this thing that could be like so impactful. Like we were both in a space of like wanting to really help social sellers figure out that they can be a personal brand and they don't have to be like just your company. But it was really scary to be like, hey, I have this idea. I think you'd be great. But if you say no, it's totally fine. Like it was like almost like you're, asking someone out with the fear of rejection. It's like, I don't know who else would have done that. I don't, like, looking back sometimes, I'm like, you are ballsy. Like, that took
Hey,
guts.
that's what it takes.
But yes, sorry, continue. That's when you kind of
So yeah, so I
content
joined
map came
that.
into the the
Yeah,
world.
I was like, I I I had gotten certified as a transformational life and business coach because for whatever reason I felt like I wanted to learn and have that in my back pocket, just have some extra modalities and things because all I knew was how to sell online. I knew how to sell through Facebook groups. Like I knew how to build a team. I knew direct sales really well, and that was my main strength. And I was like in my brain, like how could I expand and do something? I really like had this dream of doing something of my own forever. In fact, I had a business coach that I worked with 5+ years ago who was like, what are you doing to, because I had hit such, I was number 50 in the whole company. And she was like, literally, what are you doing? Because you're doing something to be there. And I was like, you know, in this world of like, I don't feel like I have any value to give to
Mhm.
people. And she's like, no, 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 you're doing something. And
Mhm.
so when I realized I'd created a method and a system through groups, I just didn't like I intentionally did it, but I didn't like think to teach it outside of what I was just like doing it. I was in it. And so she had told me like this needs to be taught to people. You need to get out and teach it 5 years ago. And I was like, okay. So I started doing team calls for leaders. And that's where I condensed it in this like 40-minute training and people were loving it. And then I put a lid on it.
Mhm.
And so here we come fast forward to your course. And I just graduated my, coaching just 1 year ago. So it was September of last year. I went through my graduation of my life and business. And I was like, okay, what are you going to do, Lindsay? What are you going to do? How are you going to do this? Like, what's this going to look like? And I still wasn't even thinking about the Facebook group process in the method at the time. I was just like, literally being like, life coach, who wants a life coach? Because I knew I had so much to give. And I was just like, there's just so much to give. Like, where do I even start? And so we get in your class, you're in Erica's class, and like, I don't remember which day this was or which lesson this was, but I would say, I think it was like week 3 or 4 or 5. It was like one of those weeks because we went through like those core foundation pieces that everyone finds boring but you got to do, right? And then you guys are like slowly working everybody into figuring their thing out and kind of like getting very clear, which is why I'm like, you are a clarity coach, because I sat there with this content map. So we print out this content map. She's got it up for us, which by the way, it's free. And I open this thing and I probably still have it sitting right back here. And I'm like looking at the circle and it's like, put your name in the middle. And then it's like, what have you like, what's your experiences or something like that. You have like these very clear questions that are just, it's all basic, by the way. This is not rocket science. And I'm like, my strength is I have 12 years of being a leader in this social selling, direct selling space. And I have a system behind that, literally helping people grow customer bases, and how they grow out their team is they followed this very simple method, those who I worked with. And I just like sat there that day and I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be out here doing. And it was just such a clear moment for me. And then I had to like figure out how to execute all that like just get it out there in a course and all that. Like, how was I going to do that? That's a whole nother story. But like, that was I think that was in February, because you started in January, right? So it was probably like 3 or 4 weeks in, maybe a month into the program, because I had the full thing launched and sold by May 1st.
Mhm.
And have since gone on to do it 3 times. And I call you the clarity coach. And you guys need to do this map because typically
It is free. The math part is free because, like you said, it's not rocket science. It's very much like you can go. So what it is that, like you said, you in the middle, and then the 5 things that you talk about.
yeah,
Because people get so stuck on, well, what do I talk about? What do I talk about? What do I talk about? I don't know what
right.
to talk about. And it's like, hold on, if you haven't figured out who you're talking to, the what's like they're gonna change over and over and over again because you haven't figured out who you're actually talking to. So you could get the map, you can go grab it, it is free. But I will say
we'll put that in the
yes,
notes.
the workbook that I just launched, like what, 2 weeks ago? The workbook, which you don't even have.
I know.
I need to get that to you. When you pair them, because the content map is in the workbook, but that's where when you buy the workbook, that's where I think people skip that step. They just want the content map. I just tell me what to do. Just tell me where to go. Tell me, like, I just want to do the things. And it's like, hold on.
Sounds like me.
Yes. It was a lot like you, actually. It was. Because it's the stuff that people don't like. We don't want to take the time. We think like, well, if I just do it, it's going to be fine. But you end up wasting so much time doing all the random, like, I think this or I think that or whatever, because you haven't stopped and done the pre stuff. So in the workbook that I just launched, when you pair them together, that's where it's like, oh, that's when the clarity clicks, because it goes back to the stuff that we talked about where, what am I good at? What are my strengths? What do I love to do? What am I like, what's stopping me? What are my roadblocks? Like all of that stuff that, like, if you haven't figured out that, your map is going to just keep changing and it's going to be so much harder. And change is not bad. Trust me, like pivoting, like we said, I've pivoted multiple times, but my who has never changed. Who I am talking to, that has always been the same. It is very clear. I'm able to change offers, change the way I think, change what I'm saying, but my who is always very clear. And that comes from just starting with you, starting with your strengths, starting with who you can help, all your past like experiences. That's one of my favorite parts, is that like, yeah, I went to art school, so that helps me create content. I was a retail manager, so customer service is really important to me. I was a kids pastor, so I know how to lead a team. Like all of the things that we've done up until this point, like all of that is so valuable. We have so much knowledge in ourselves that we just dismiss, and we don't even think that like, oh my gosh, like I actually have a lot to give. I actually have a lot. It's like, you're literally what you said, like you have a lot of value to give, but we dismiss that so quickly because I don't think we take the time to be like, oh, I did do that. And now we're marketing and direct sales. Like we learn so much business. Like the stuff that I have learned from being in Saint for 6 years. I mean, that's literally how I can run my business now.
Yep.
Like 100%. And so like, take the knowledge. Yeah. It's like totally like a stepping stone. Right. Yes. Yeah.
And then you expand.
Yes, but I think fear holds us back. I think being unclear holds us back. I think like, you know, what we've been told by other people, or, you know, like you can't do those things, whatever that, like, that's all going to hold us back. But if we do the work, if we're willing to get a little uncomfortable, if you're willing to be like, hold on, what's true? What am I capable of? Who am I helping? All of these things, like if we can stop and do that first, oh my gosh, not only will you be clear, but you'll be launching stuff like Lindsay in like 2 months. Like it's just, but we as a society, we just want things like right now. Like I want it right now. I can do this right now. But like you have to do the foundation first. And it's, you know, we're just wired. The reels tell us that you can be so successful in like 8 days. Like that's not real.
Thank you.
It's not real. It's just not real, right? And so
right. No, it's not.
if you don't know that though, like I think that's really hard, like to figure that out on your own. And I was a serial course buyer. I bought so many courses in 2021. That's because I didn't trust myself. You know, like I didn't do the work that I should have done first. And I learned a lot from that. But I also am like, maybe I could have been a lot further by now had I done the work first.
Yeah.
And so it's a lesson that we all have to learn. And the workbook I made, I like love it so much because I know that it can just help you get super clear and take some action and save a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
like I did.
if you ever look, and not that we need to be looking every which way, but a lot of successful coaches and people out there that have been out for years doing this, the first thing they tell you is to get crystal clear. It's like, before we take the action, before we do anything else, let's get clear on what you're doing, who you're speaking to, like what the goal is you're going for, like what this all is going to look like, that vision. And I think like, it's funny because 5 years ago, I was told like, why aren't you doing this? And I wrote a whole journal, which has more to do with the fact that I'm a twin mother, and I never put it out there. It's sitting saved on this computer. I never put it out because I was so like, and it was because I was missing this step. Instead, I literally built, you want to laugh at this? I built a twin mom Instagram page to like 600 people, which,
Remember.
oh yeah, we talked about this. You do remember this. That's because I wasn't clear. And I'm like, man, where were you 5 years ago?
Where was I 5 years ago? I was a kids pastor. I was working at church.
You were taking care of the church.
I do think like the other thing we hear a lot is like throw spaghetti at the wall. Yeah. And that's where I think the messages get messy. Yeah. Because I fully believe in the throw spaghetti at the wall concept where you just like try the things. Yeah. But I think without the clarity piece first, you're going to keep throwing things and you're going to throw it angry and you're going to throw it frustrated and you're just, it's going to become a negative space instead of what creativity should be, which like when you are clear and you're leaning into the creativity, more creativity is just going to come and you'll get clearer and clearer and clearer. But if you're throwing messy things all over the place, like no rhyme or reason, no clarity at all, it's going to stay messy and you're going to get mad. Like, and I think that that's why, because I mean, you guys, I have frustration days. Lindsay literally was with me in a frustration day. Was that yesterday? Oh my gosh, that was only yesterday. So I have frustration days and I share them publicly because I'm all about like, I am not a perfect anything. So I share my frustration days publicly because that's real life. That is true. No entrepreneur out there has 365 days of happiness and joy. That's not real. But when you have your clarity and you have your people and your who really, really clear on those frustration days, you know that you're not going to quit. You know that you're not going to throw it in you're not going to throw away everything you've done. You know that, okay, maybe it's a little bit of, going back to the workbook, going back to your content map, going back to like, why are you doing this? Going to someone who gets it, who understands it. When you buy the workbook, you get a free community of women who are in this too. Like surrounding yourself with people who get what you're doing is huge. Oh my gosh, huge. And that's what like I give a lot of that to Saint because that's where it started for me is like the other women who are in Saint, they get it. They know what we're doing. They, they are very like-minded. And so it's expand past Saint now, thankfully, because I love Instagram. I love social media. I think there's so much good that comes from it, but you have to be in it in a not messy space. Yep. Because those numbers, and I can speak from the experience of like the real view numbers, those, I mean, oh my gosh, those tore me down. They like, that's why I almost quit is because those views were never up. And I just was like, but I'm talking to people, but I'm having conversations, but I'm making sales. So like the real views obviously don't matter that much because I'm able to still do what I want to do and help who I want to help. Yeah. So you have to be like not in the messiness of it. And that's hard. That takes a lot of work. Yeah. Yeah.
Breathing. Life coaching. Okay, so this is so great. I could go on and on and on. But I'll ask you one last thing and then I will let you go, even though I could ask 10 more things. What is the advice to those who are out there listening right now, who are maybe not fully clear on who, and like they're not clear on, you know, maybe it's just very messy right now for them and they're possibly looking to expand or take their network marketing to the next level, what would you tell them?
I would say get the workbook.
Get
um,
clear.
I would for sure take a look at like where you've been and take a moment to tell yourself good job. Like, I don't think we do that enough, and I'm guilty, 100%. I think that we skip over all of the amazing things we've accomplished
Yeah.
and what has gotten you to where you are today. So I
Mhm.
would first start there, like, oh, maybe write down things you're grateful for, things like that. Like, get yourself in that mind space of just like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for all the things that I've, like, all of the goals I have achieved, no
Mhm.
matter the size, like small, those matter. And then it all goes back to like what we've talked about. You have to get really clear. Who are you going to serve? What are your strengths and your passions? What brings you joy? Because that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. What could you talk about every single day, all day? Doesn't matter who, like, you are like, oh my gosh, I have to talk about this because I love it so much. Like, focus on I feel like it's kind of counterintuitive, but like focus on you so that what comes out of you can help others. Because
Yeah.
that's gonna be your sweet spot of like that's the part that like you're gonna find your people will find you because you're like, this is what I bring to the world. And it's so good. And we all have it in us,
Yeah.
but we're scared.
I know.
That's a
Yeah.
scary thing. That is a scary thing to show, to
Mhm.
like be honest about, to like we're like almost trained to not think we're good at things, right? And so I'm like, no, I'm actually really good at that. And
Yeah.
I know what I'm really good at is going to help someone else. And
Yeah.
so don't hold that back.
Right.
How dare you
Yeah.
keep your goodness from helping someone else?
Right. What you have could completely be the breakthrough they need, the transformation they need. And yeah, there's definitely something to be said about being seen and being a little nervous about being seen, especially when you are stepping out into expansion or just anything that you're really passionate about that someone may not understand your like sharing, and it can almost stop you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it stops a lot of people. I think being like the shame and the judgment and what if they laugh at me? What if I fail? Like those are all very real things. And if we don't address those things, we're never going to reach where we want to go.
Yeah. Ooh, so good. And I just want to like encourage you all who are listening, because like this, you can do so many things. I think it's so important that we reiterate, like, you can do it, and you can, and it's not overwhelming. It's not like there's so much creativity in being able to, be an affiliate for something you may absolutely love and share a code for, and also share your favorite network marketing, your business. And then if you were to expand into something that you have and really want to share with the world, like, we are right here showing you, because she showed me, Krystal showed me, like, it was like 2 years ago, just shy of 2 years ago. And here I am with a whole new world of things, So I wanted to have you on. I was like, oh, this is just people to hear and see how they can do the same, because there's so much, it's so freeing and it's so fun. So much
And
fun.
when you share that, like when the scariest thing I've done since starting is share all of that with the internet.
I mean,
Literally down to like goals, down to missing goals, down to, making mistakes. The scariest part of it has been sharing it, but the biggest growth came from sharing it. Like that is the message, the DM that I get 99% of the time is thank you for being so transparent, because someone else feels seen when you do that.
Yep.
And that's like when they're just like, they're there with you. They're your ride or dies after that, because you have made them feel less alone.
Yes. We need more of that. Oh my gosh. This is so good. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being here. And we will see you guys back next week.